All right. Well, I guess we ought to get on the official road to WrestleMania, Brian, because we had SmackDown this past Friday night, the March the 29th. It's all leading up to next weekend. We're going to have the big 2-night extravaganza. And so you would, I think, does it feel like everything has already been done? Maybe they'll surprise us Monday night or whatever. But this SmackDown could also have been known as the Stars have Easter weekend off, and they were at the Mohegan Sun Casino in Connecticut, which nothing against the people in Mohegan Sun, Connecticut, or wherever the that thing is. I've been there, but it's not like they were at the Philadelphia Spectrum or the Los Angeles Forum or the Herb Welch WrestlePlex in Dyersburg, Tennessee, or any prestigious place like that. But the recap, obviously, of last week not last week, but just the previous Monday on Raw was a central theme through this whole thing. And they had some things happen, but nothing really happened. A few things I think that they didn't intend for to happen happened. We'll talk about that, or the execution of same or whatever. But does it feel like we're kind of already there unless they pull a wabbit out of their hat on Monday?
Kind of. I'm sure something will happen or something will be added or some kind of extra twist, but no, this was a really boring, bad episode, and at the same time also probably just fine for what their objectives were.
Yeah, as Kevin Sullivan used to say, it was a maintenance show. It just keeps what you've got going on running smoothly. And the Mohegan Sun, what it was WrestleMania 98, right? When we were in Boston, Kane, Tombstone, Pete Rose. I guess it was the first time, or maybe it was the second time. One of the times he did it.
Someone make a retro Pete Rose figure. Where's that figure? That's the one we need.
But it's got to be upside down with Glenn Jacobs' legs around his neck. But the point is, I'm pretty dadgum sure that it was the WrestleMania in Boston where Pete Rose got tombstoned by Kane one of those times, because I remember that it's not that far down the road, as they say, a piece up in the Yankee land, to the casino there at the Mohegan Sun. And what I was told, and I was part of the office infrastructure at the time, was they paid him $10,000 and he asked for it in cash, and he had a car waiting to take him to the casino as soon as he got dropped on his head and carried out.
It was definitely Boston, because he started immediately making jokes about the Red Sox and about Bill Buckner and everything. It was actually it was really well done. And then he returned, I think, one year dressed as a chicken. Right? Was he the San Diego? Was he the gobbledygook or the San Diego chicken? Now, it couldn't have been the San Diego chicken. It must have been something.
It was something, or he wanted another $10,000 for another tombstone is what he wanted. So, but he was dressed in some fashion. Anyway, I wish we had Pete Rose on this show. At least we would have seen some stars. No, I exaggerate slightly, because Randy Orton and Kevin Owens was in the opening tag team match, but they were against Purely Dreary, I don't know what their names are. I don't care. I can't watch it. But the finish of the thing was the best part of it, because Logan Paul came in behind the referee's back and knocked out Owens with the brass knuckles, and then dropped and rolled out of the ring and rolled under the ring to hide. And the goofy team pins Kevin 1, 2, 3. And then they leave or they roll out, and the fans are telling Orton, because Orton turns around and they think he's going to turn on Owens, because he looks at him laying there. He's like, what the fuck? How did you lose these two motherfuckers? Right? And then the fans are, no, it was Logan Paul. He's out of the ring. And Orton does the slow fucking burn, right, of realizing what the fuck, and then he points down, and then he steps out slowly so he doesn't make noise. And he flips the fucking apron skirt up, and there's Logan Paul. And then he pulls him out, and he's beating the fuck out of him when the heels come back and allow Logan Paul to get away. And then Orton RKO's one, and Owen stunners the other one, and Logan Paul runs to the back and with Orton on his heels, and steals a sports car and escapes. So I like the finish. I don't know what they think in this day and age, and with their with the tone they're taking with the shit that's on top and drawing money, why do they think that people are liking these two tag team individuals or anything about them or how they're presented or what the fuck is going on?
I don't know. It's not for me. WWE's tag team division isn't for me. They never do right by it. But they got a win here. There's a story there. I marked out for the, whatever you want to call it, the simple old school tactic of Randy Orton pointing to different sides of the ring for the crowd to tell him where Logan Paul is.
Yes.
Everyone turned into everyone turned into a believer at that point. He's here, he's here, he's here.
Yeah, it's on this side, it's this side.
And Logan Paul's amazing. Watch the way he was taking the punches and the way he was getting thrown around by Randy Orton. Watch his face, his body movements. I'm not you, but even I could recognize it.
Yeah.
He's amazing at this.
So that was a good part, but now, unfortunately, they may be putting a warrant out for him for whose ever car that was.
Okada's.
We will find out.
It was a red car. It was Okada's.
Now do you know, we made fun of the fact that what we thought was a fact. Here's a correction, folks. We made fun that they had Okada. His sole contribution to their TV show was standing in the back watching the monitor of the Young Bucks match, right? The other night on TV and nodding. That's all he did. I said, they gave him $50,000, show up and do that. If you prorate a couple $1 million a year versus whatever the fuck, right? Come to find out, Brian, they didn't even do that. They pre-taped it the previous week. He was home in Japan. He got his fucking weekly check to sit home in Japan. And they played a tape, a pre-recorded nodding of him watching a match that hadn't happened yet.
There were a few things on that episode of Dynamite that looked like they were taped probably the week before, and it turned out they were all taped the week before. No one was at that show.
Including the fans. But anyway, we're in SmackDown. And did you see the deal where Io Sky did a promo in the back where they were lit up for the sit-down interview and she got the subtitles? And that whole thing finishes up, and then Bayley comes in and just wrecks the whole set and
it was good.
Knocks the lights over. They're trying. It was more chaotic. They're shooting it in a more, fucking stressful fashion. You know what I'm trying to say, where it's not just like, oh, we just stand here and just close up on this without even worrying. The cameraman's not worried he's going to get hurt. There's shit moving around. And so they're trying. Now the problem is, has the horse left the barn? Is it so overdone that the guys and girls and everybody but fucking midgets, get in a fight backstage multiple times per show, that even if you shoot it better and make it look more organic, as they say, are people numb to it at this point much more than they should be?
I don't know if anyone's numb to it. I think the fans there take the Bayley, and Damage Control has been treated seriously for a while. Io Sky's good in the ring. Not that matters to everyone, but she's good. This was well done. You can't really poke too many holes in how this was done.
I'm not saying it wasn't well done. I'm saying it's a shame sometimes when some of these things in either company comes along that are well done, or they finally try to put a little more thought into it, a little more oomph in the production, and it's just that it's been done so much it does not have the impact that it once did on anybody's part. And then after the fucking Rock just took Cody out in the parking lot, just whooped him like a goddamn government mule into a bloody pulp on Monday, and then the backstage fight with the girls, it's a constant thing. I'm just calling attention to it.
Can we talk about that for a second? I've actually seen some feedback. A lot of people hate the fact that I critique anything about The Rock, so even when I say good things about him, they're still like, why is Brian such a hater?
Well, hey, you gave him 3 or 4 chances to bring your dog back.
That's exactly right, and he didn't. He killed my dog. Actually, he gave it away to someone else as a charitable act, and he filmed himself doing it. But anyway, even when I say good things about The Rock, people are like, you hate him and everything. The last review they got on you, too, I saw some of the comments. You said, why didn't anyone come out to save Cody? Why did it go on so long? They're saying it's obvious. He's the final boss. He's in charge. Who's going to come out there and stop him if he's the boss?
Look here. what I'm saying it when I say why didn't anybody try to stop it? It doesn't just have to be the wrestlers. Couldn't it be any fucking bystanding person on the security or the building staff? Would the fucking building staff be on the walkie-talkie talking to the manager? Hey, there's some shit going on in the parking lot. Just give some element of some chaos rather than and I like what The Rock did with the clip he put out on Instagram, since we've taken a side turn here. Where after and they played it here on the program later on, but not in its entirety like Rock put it up. But where the fucking production guy, production assistant, or whoever is clear or off the air. Well, fuck, you're off the air. You know, the problem is they showed that there were still photographers. There were multiple camera people. There were people standing around.
Yeah, everyone was there.
And you would, at some points, if it was as legitimately violent as you're trying to portray it to be, wouldn't one or two grown adult men try to say, yeah, this is going too far, and you ain't get shoved down or anything, but everybody's just standing around letting it happen. And then the guy says, clear. Well, Rock says, well, fuck, you're clear, and hits him some more. But that just shows that the people standing around it weren't taking it as seriously as it may have been intended, doesn't it? Am I overthinking this?
Maybe. I mean, again, people really resisted what you said, and I agree.
They said, well, they said that, well, The Rock is their boss, the final boss. But goddamn, when you professional football teams try to hold each other when you're fighting a guy from another team, the guy on the same team, they're trying to fucking separate it, break it up. It's going too far. That type of thing. You see what I'm saying? You can only have a certain level of belief in or sympathy for a vicious beatdown if there's some people or some entity or somebody trying to stop it when it goes too far. But when you see a bunch of people standing around just looking, even if the goddamn cameraman, you know, that's kind of accepted. But when you see a group of people and they're, we're just scared to step in, and no wrestlers coming out to save the day, and no office representative or building staff or anybody, get somebody go screaming, stop it, you fucking morons, you're crazy. It's one of my picadillos. I like a chaotic scene.
How much heat is The Rock going to get when he does something to knock down or beat up Triple H? Because everyone knows Triple H has a medical condition.
Oh, and he needs to, you know what? Rock needs to prep for his confrontation with Triple H that eventually happens by fucking training for the heart punch, just like Stan Stasiak or Ox Baker.
You know what? He could pull it off. He could pull that off. He really could.
It wouldn't be worse than a people's elbow. But anyway.
You hate The Rock. You're awful. How dare you criticize the people's elbow?
If you knew what that he did to Brian's dog, then you would not. I'm telling you, he
fucked the dog, didn't he? He likes to fuck dogs. Are you saying?
No,
are you saying, Jim Cornette, that The Rock likes to fuck dogs?
No, I'm saying that he had him in the poi pot. He had him in the poi pot over there. Dog thought he heard the word potty, but he heard poi pot, and
because someone's gonna have to confront The Rock. Someone has to be the one. He's the final boss in terms of being a heel, but in terms of the company, there has to be some sort of on-screen representation that dresses him down or takes him down. If Triple H can't wrestle, and I'm going to assume that's true, because there's no reason not to, he has to be involved in it because of the natural thing with him and The Rock, but someone has to be there to take him down a notch so that he can't run wild on the show. The Cody incident should be the thing that prompts it.
Well, we don't know what's going to go on at WrestleMania. I don't know that it's time to confront him yet. Because, see, that's the thing. If Triple H was to come out and confront him on behalf of the WWE as a corporation before WrestleMania, that might, in my mind, remove some people's doubt that Cody may be going into a dangerous, treacherous situation. Well, let's after WrestleMania, if Rock does something heinous on Saturday night, which we would assume, hopefully he will, then whatever happens on Sunday, one would think that maybe it might be time to address it then, or maybe they don't want to rush that because they got other fish to fry. But sooner or later, Rock and Triple H in the ring promo battle, two different opposing authority figures has to happen. They can't not do that.
It's amazing we're talking about all this. Again, Roman Reigns, a non-entity in the conversation, barely around. You got to wonder what his future is in terms of how he's going to be used and what they're going to do. Are they going to right away do an injury angle and he's out because someone turns on him? Or?
No. I got a feeling that if we realize that all of a sudden he's in the back seat, they do too. And I have a feeling that they at least believe that what they're going to do over the next couple of weeks will put him back in a driver's seat or in a more prominent position. It's all part of the plan, Smithers. And now, if we're still saying this in about 3 weeks, then they got a problem.
I just had a crazy thought, and then we'll end this and go back to SmackDown, which we've conveniently left.
Yes.
If The Rock was going crazy in the ring, and the Bloodline's with him, Cody and Rollins are down, Jey Uso's down. Like I said before, Triple H is down. They're running wild. What if all of a sudden the glass breaks and out comes Steve Austin to confront The Rock? Would that work?
He
looked good in there with Owens a few years. I know he can't work a regular match or a long match or anything. He worked a gimmick match, but he didn't look like an old man or anything. He looked like Steve Austin.
It would work as far as a pop. It would work as far as people would lose their minds. But The Rock right now, even though he's The Rock, he's managed to insert himself in this thing where somehow he feels still kind of, we're talking about The Rock wrestling and nobody's like, oh, that broken down old Rock, or he's been whatever, he's contemporary. If we throw another legend of any, no matter how good they look, or even if they were going to be, if you throw another legend into the mix, then it becomes more about the legends. He's mixing in with these guys, and it's a brand new run. I think it would give it a different feel if Austin or anybody, and Triple H is the exception, being a legend, because he's not confronting him in a legend wrestler's position. He's confronting him as an executive. But I think Rock's got to be the only member of the Over the Hill gang in this fucking equation, don't you?
I mean, you would think, yeah. But I'm trying to also think who's at that level who could stop The Rock. In character, in storyline. And Endeavor has money to throw around. And we're trying to make this thing bigger and bigger and bigger and break more and more records.
Well, but...
and you have to work the WWE champion schedule. One match every 6 months.
Well, maybe. They've got 2 more matches that they have to have, or they're leaving big fucking... Well, I say big pay-per-view money, but they're leaving big matches on the table if they don't have Cody versus The Rock one-on-one, and if they don't eventually have Rock and Roman. And if you get those plus this weekend out of The Rock's in-ring career, at this point, I think you're farting through silk.
And then you look a little bit down the line, when Punk comes back, you got to go with Punk Rollins, you got to go with Punk McIntyre. Punk Cody is still a thing.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to go there right away.
And Punk Roman.
Cody Gunther.
Well, now you've just...
I'm now just throwing main eventers into the mix of what it's going to be. All right.
Fucking goddamn Lawler and Idol. Just anybody. Whatever. We're just blurting names out.
All right, well, let's blurt back to SmackDown.
All right, well, speaking of blurting names out, the newest superstar signing Nick Aldis introduced on SmackDown, Jade Cargill.
Jade.
Made her debut as a SmackDown superstar. And, well, we know she's a babyface. She came out signing small children's posters. She looks great. They've already given her an entrance and a lighting look and the whole production and blah, blah, blah. She's being produced for the first time. And honestly, all she really did here was recite a short, memorized promo with very little inflection, but she didn't screw it up and it wasn't too long. And she's got a tagline, "The storm is here," because she's the storm. And she got out. And she looks like well, I can't say looks like $1 million. That's chump change these days. She looked like a lot of money. And didn't do anything. At this point, she looks so good as long as they can make sure she doesn't do anything where her actions diminish her look. She's golden, right?
It was weird when she said, "Cut the shit, Tony."
And, oh, come on now.
What do you think of her being brought in as a babyface, seemingly, at least initially? And you know, you never know if she turns on someone in this big 6-man match coming up, but what do you think of the idea that brought her in? We've only seen her as a heel, even though at times she celebrated with her family and had a big entrance and hot women around her. She's been a heel. What do you think of bringing her in as a babyface?
Well, I think they probably figured, why the fuck did they present this girl as a heel when they never wanted her to lose and they wanted her to be I think they probably said, let's try to get away from what she's done previously. She's influenced by it's a new X-Men person.
Storm.
See, I was back at
a new X-Men person. How new is new?
Well, the Beast, the Iceman, Cyclops, goddamn, the telekinetic girl. It's been a long time, but anyway.
Storm debuted in Giant Size X-Men #1.
See, there you go. That was what, 1975?
75. Isn't that in your zone? The end of your zone?
That was right. That was the end of my zone. Right there. They changed everything. I was morphing out. I was more into the rest. Anyway, the point is, she's a superhero. She looks great. She's not. She's obviously not, and shouldn't have the burden of expecting her to be ready to lead in the ring as a heel. They probably have aligned her with their other baby faces, so some of the heels that are more experienced can lead her in the ring. We go ahead and talk about the angle they do at the end of the show here, since it's the only really thing that connects these two incidents was Jane being involved.
Jade.
But this is the point is they're producing her. And if she's a girl's superhero and she's got heels to work with that can lead her in the ring, and she's got this look and they've done the entrance, they're not going to rush it, I don't think. And they're going to try not to put her in positions she's not ready for. And just skipping ahead chronologically, the main event of the program was Bianca versus Dakota. And Bianca hit her with her finish, 1, 2, 3. But then here comes Carrie and Oscar, and they jump Bianca. And Naomi saved it. I swear, did you watch this, Brian?
I did. This was the main event.
Well, when Naomi saved, were you able to count the punches that she threw when she jumped on one of the girls and windmilled her, and then jumped on the other girl and windmilled her? And did you see that if there were 87 of them, out of the 87, 83 at least were either her hitting her own hand over and over, or just having a spasm where she was just punching thin air 2 feet from the girl's head?
Well, most boxing matches, the boxer doesn't hit 100% of the time.
Not when you've got one hand tied up in the opponent's hair and she's stationary. The head wasn't moving. She was just swinging like she was fucking swatting gnats off from around her head. Anyway.
They should have had her glowing in the dark while this happened. It would have looked better.
Well, I wish it had been dark, where I couldn't have seen this whole thing. But then they stopped Naomi and they got more heat, and then they played Jane's music.
Shade.
And she walked out slowly and purposely in a completely different outfit that she'd worn to do the interview. So she got dressed up to do a fucking run-in that she allegedly didn't know was going to happen. But they did the perfect thing with her. She rolls in the ring and hits 3 carefully orchestrated moves and lays out all 3 of the heels. Front kick and a fucking ding-dong and a flip-flop, whatever they call those things. And she's standing there. She didn't break a sweat, and they're bailing. And she's standing there with the baby faces, and they go off the air. They're producing her. They're not leaving her to go out there and do a bunch of shit, make it up on her own she don't know how to do, as was the case with the previous program. So that's what's going on with Jade.
And yes, that is what's going on with her. And again, debuting her as a babyface. And I like this segment. Damage Control are good. You know, I have to say, as heels, they're really good. I like them a lot. I like those heels. I like those heels a lot. What a weird statement. But that was the end of the show. Was that everything on the show? Or did you just skip over a bunch of stuff?
I skipped ahead because I wanted to keep the girls' affairs in order there. I'd hate to see somebody lose track of it. But I want to talk about for a second the Street Profits against Theory and Waller. And everybody knows I like Theory's work. I like to watch him work just because he gets the little things that a lot of the youngsters his age don't do well. He's very athletic. But then now, lately, to watch him work, I have to watch Waller, and nothing's worth that. So I was going to skip ahead of this, but I got to call attention to something at the start and something at the finish. Because the Street Profits are the guys that Lashley has taken under his wing, right? And what's the girl's name? Kayfabe?
B-Fab.
Well, you do and you'll clean it up. But so Lashley's a big star, right? And he's supposed to make these guys big stars. So this is what they presented here. First of all, nobody knows how to be a babyface anymore. Montez Ford is very athletic, right? Does all the flips and things. Very, very precise, very athletic. He does the deal where when the match starts, the bell rings, he grabs the top rope and does a standing front flip over the top into the ring and sticks it perfectly on the landing. Boom! It looked cool as shit. And then Waller kicked him in the gut and grabbed a headlock on him. First move of the match, the babyface does a fancy move to jump in the ring, and the heel makes him look like a dipshit. What the fuck? Can you see if the bell rings for the Rock and Roll Express to start their match, and Robert Gibson jumps over the top rope with enthusiasm to start the match, and the fucking heel just fucking clotheslines him right in the face. Anyway, so we go to the finish. And did you watch this or even pay attention to this tomfoolery?
A little bit of attention to it. The Street Profits, unfortunately, since they've gotten put with Lashley, have been treated worse than they were beforehand. So
yes,
it's hard to really watch this stuff.
Well, in the finish, just to make sure that everybody keeps track of where this thing's going, old Dawkins powerbombed Theory. And then Ford was going to go to the top and come off the top, right? Well, then suddenly on the screen, there's a video shot of the Street Profits locker room where there's Lashley and Bayfabe completely laid out in the middle of a bunch of wreckage, and Lashley, or not Lashley, but fucking Cross, Scarlett's husband, Karrion Kross are standing there drinking champagne and cutting a promo, and everything in the ring stopped. The guy on the top rope perched there stopped. And Dawkins on the floor stopped, but also the opponent stopped too. So then once the video is over with, Dawkins like waves at Ford like, I'm going to stagger back here and see what I can find out. You just keep fighting these two fucking guys. I don't know what the fuck that was all about. And then Ford, who was on the top rope, goes to splash Theory, who had been laying there for, I put the stopwatch on it, 45 seconds since the last time anybody touched him. He was in a medically induced coma, apparently. But When Ford came off, Theory raised his knees and Ford landed on him and Theory covered 1, 2, 3. So Theory was playing possum, but that requires you to believe that Montez Ford would think that this motherfucker was going to lay there immobile and unconscious for 45 fucking seconds while they watch television. But that ain't all. Because then the dreaded team AOP, and no, they are not slim, sassy, sexy Congress people from the Northeast. They are two fat guys from the Indies. And they hit the ring and got some of the most awkward indie-level fat guy heat on the Street Profits that I've ever seen. And meanwhile, Cross and Scarlett come to the ring with poor Paul Ellering trailing behind him going, why am I here? What the fuck is going on? And they are going to stand over the baby faces when here comes Lashley staggering in with his clothes kind of ripped from the beating he's taken. And he rolls in and they get on him, and the heat on him is even worse than the heat they tried to get on the other fucking guys. And then the authors of the fat fucking cookbook held him up while Cross came from behind and knocked him out with one lousy-looking forearm. Whereupon Bobby Lashley, the only star in this goddamn ring, is laying there with his face in a fucking ground while all the heels pose unnaturally in an awkward manner over the top of his fucking carcass. I didn't like this. Why would they do this?
I don't know. I don't know why Paul Ellering's there. I mean, he's not even doing promos or anything. He just every now and then walks out. Is he really managing them like he managed the Road Warriors?
It doesn't seem so, but it'd be nice to hear from him every once in a while to find out. But at this point, what is he going to say? Well, these guys, they all suck. Hear that? Hear that? That's the cops coming to get me now.
I don't hear
my opinions. It's the opinion police.
I don't hear anything. Are there sirens in the background?
Oh, your fucking super goddamn hearing now can't hear these sirens come. I live down the road from the fire department.
I hear you. You're yelling at me.
Well, keep it that way.
Hey, it's becoming too standardized, though, like on SmackDown specifically, large factions with a girl on the stable.
Yes.
Like, B-Fab's with them, and Scarlett's with them, and Zelina's with them, and Carmen Electra, what's her name?
Carmen Electra is with
the other ones.
The other fellows.
The other group. And then, Rhea obviously is a superstar, but she's with them. It's like for every 3 men, there's 1 woman.
Well, because a lot of people would say it only takes 1 woman to do the work of 3 men. See? So there you go.
Are you kissing the women's ass again?
Hey, what I do with these women is none of your business, you pervert.
These women.
these various women around the area. Anyway, at 9 o'clock, the 9 o'clock hour, the jig was up at the 9 o'clock hour. On SmackDown, Pablo Escobar and the Lucha Heels came out and did a promo, and then Dominic Mysterio came out and responded to the promo, and then Rey Mysterio and the Lucha Babyfaces came out and responded to the promo, and then Dragon Lee came out as a result of the promo, and at that point I counted 11 people in the fucking ring. And it's just there's not a lot of laser focus on this deal with these warring factions, but as you mentioned, you gotta have a girl. It's a man's world.
Oh, no, please don't. Come on.
It's a man's world, but it would be nothing.
And you don't sing like one. And you don't sing like one.
Jump back. Let me kiss myself.
Yeah, why don't you try that right now? What I was going to say is something. Oh, you didn't really say it. They introduced Dragon Lee as the new member of the LWO, and he's going to be Rey's partner at WrestleMania in the tag match against Dominic and Escobar.
Yeah.
And the entire time I'm watching, I'm like, Carlito must be like, what did I sign up for? I'm doing nothing.
Yeah,
I'm the biggest one in here.
I'd like to see him interact with anybody that's not in this group at this point. But he's got the wrong father apparently. We're working with the Mysterio line. But yes, the rest I don't care. But because they're all just they're I can't keep track of is the LWO the baby faces or the heels?
They're the baby faces. They have merch.
Well, but then the other is the La Fantasmagoria.
It's Legado that Del, is it Del or De? Del Fantasma. I think it's Del.
I don't know him. I knew Del Wilkes.
Del Shannon.
But never, Del Shannon, and we'll run away from this topic because basically how this ended was Zelina slapped Carmen Electra in the face and all the guys got in a big fight and the baby faces won the fight. And then I swear to you, Bianca and Naomi gave each other a pep talk in the back, jumping up and down while they were holding hands. This goddamn pussy-ass wrestling. Then we had Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne against two of the Lucha heels that just got beat up. And then, where have I heard the name? Why have I heard the name? Has he been at a wrestling show before? Meek Mill is going to be at WrestleMania. Did he do something here before? And I said, who the fuck is Meek Mill? And you told me?
I don't remember talking to you about him ever. He's a rapper. He'll be performing some of his wonderful music at the, is it WrestleMania? I forgot what you said. WrestleMania?
Yes, he's done something else. He's done something else with him because I've heard that name. And I don't know why I would have heard the name of a rapper unless he's done something with one of these wrestling companies.
Well, hold on.
Meek Mill.
Let's see if...
Pepper Mill's fucking cousin.
Meek Mill, let's see if he's been in the news for anything recently.
Sounds a very mousy fellow. Meek.
Meek Mill, 1 month ago, Meek Mill vehemently denies being gay after Diddy lawsuit rumors.
Wait, what happened?
That's from TMZ.
Wait a minute. Who? Diddy was suing him for being gay, or was he suing Diddy for being... Who was doing what to who?
You can't sue someone for, who you are, but
who was gay and who was Diddying?
The issue was that we just talked about Diddy the other day, or as some people started calling him now the Diddler. They talked about him the other day.
Yes, we had a day of Diddy the other day.
In his lawsuit, one of his former producers is accusing him of a number of things, and I guess making Vince McMahon-style allegations in the lawsuit about Diddy and other people, male and female, being involved.
Well, what has Meek Mill got to do with this?
Well, according to this, there's a redacted name in the lawsuit, and people were assuming it was him.
Oh, well, now see, that may not be him. It may be unfair fucking just online trollishness.
And apparently 50 Cent is involved, and he started some of the rumors, or he at least has been having fun with these Meek Mill rumors online.
Well, his opinion isn't worth 50 cents, is it?
Well, no, I think it may be worth something. He's feuding
50 cents opinion?
50
worth more
Cent,
than 50 cents?
No, 50 Cent has a feud going on right now with Puff Daddy. That's like the main event feud right now.
Oh, 50 Cent is mad at Diddy.
This is like one of those wrestling feuds where like the legends from two different periods come back and they're feuding with each other. And it's going to be like the final match. It's happening right now.
So Meek Mill.
Well, okay, go ahead.
Well, what else has he done? Why have I known him?
Hold on.
Well, what were you going to say about these people who I don't know doing things that I don't care about?
Because there was a whole big thing in the New York Post, and it was the fascinating thing. 50 Cent is feuding with Puff Daddy. 50 Cent's baby mama, who he had a child with, is the woman being accused in the lawsuit as being one of Puffy's paid sex workers.
Whoa!
That he uses for himself and potentially other people. So, because when that came out, 50 Cent went on Instagram. He's like, she's a sex worker, or whatever he said.
Is there
and now he's going for full custody. So this is it's been playing out in the papers. It's been fascinating.
This is starting to get complicated. Is there a pie chart or some type of
there should be
graphic
a pay-per-view
thing?
There should be a pay-per-view main event if these guys want to make a few bucks with this, because
I just want to do the thing like the bloodline chart so I can figure out who's saying what about who with all of these people and put a picture up there so I'll recognize them. So I can stay the fuck away from all of them. including apparently Meek Mill, who's going to be at WrestleMania one way or the other.
Yeah, he's a musician. I don't know why. I mean, well, here it has a bunch of criminal proceedings. I don't know if any of these have gotten into the news.
That has a bunch of criminal proceedings.
Well, 2005 to 2006, police brutality and first arrest. When he was 18, he was walking to the corner store armed, and he was arrested for illegally possessing a forearm.
A forearm?
He was illegally possessing a firearm, excuse me.
Because he had a metal plate inserted in it, and it was deadly.
And he was beaten up by the police. Because of the beating, his lips and both eyes became swollen, and one of his braids was ripped out. Jesus. He was charged with attempted...
Well, wait a minute. Why was he taking a goddamn fucking gun down to the convenient food mart or whatever?
Maybe they wouldn't sell him milk. Now they'll sell him milk. Milk Mills.
Milk Mill. So he's had many brushes.
Well, in 2008, drug and gun conviction. 2012 to 2016, several violations, incarceration, and house arrest. 2017, St. Louis and New York arrests, parole violation, and imprisonment. 2018, allegations of federal corruption. 2019, misdemeanor firearm charge, and Free Meek, which was a docuseries about him.
Did you say Free Meat? He gave out Free Meat?
Free Meek, a documentary about him.
Free Meek. Okay,
Free
I'm
Meek.
sorry.
Then there were civil suits. Also, there were other allegations. What is this? He was turned away from the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas for racial discrimination. They said there was an issue there. So he's gotten into trouble with the law. He seems, forget about WrestleMania, he seems a prime candidate for the WWE Hall of Fame.
Good Lord. So yeah, he'll be there, I guess, performing some of his better known tunes. You can name them several off the top of your head, can't you, Brian?
You know what the problem is, though? No matter who it is, if it's Meek Mill or just about anyone, other than like the national anthem or something to start the show, I don't think I ever want music in the middle of the wrestling event. There's no one, even artist I've liked. It's like not the time and place for me.
Well, I don't know if he's going to give a whole concert. Maybe he's just going to wrap someone to the ring and then wrap it up and get the fuck out of there.
Know. Remember the Oak Ridge Boys at
Oh yeah,
Music City Showdown.
Well, yeah, because I had to sit through that. Remember, you were
home,
and I had just left. I was home. Actually, that's the only pay-per-view during that 5-year period that I got to watch from my own home, and I had to sit through 20 minutes of the Oak Ridge Boys.
No one in that building wanted to hear the Oak Ridge Boys, and that's no indictment of them or their ability or their
And they
songs.
were in Nashville, but it wasn't it wasn't the place.
Glenn Goza. I mean, you can go back and forth. There's so many examples. Just it never works. No one wants to just see someone singing or rapping at the wrestling show. They just want to see the wrestling.
Hey, at that Great American Bash in Philly, they loved Delbert McClinton, didn't they?
Delbert McClinton.
Anyway, speaking of loving people, apparently we got one more segment here on SmackDown. AJ Styles not loving LA Knight. You know, the whole thing where LA Knight came to his house and attacked him. And I swear to God, I've got a bunch of feedback on the Twitter machine and that also. Corny, you're being too picky. They said they missed what we were saying, many people, Brian, because we said, yes, it was pre-recorded. They thought I made a joke. I said, now the fucking cops' body cam's not only feeding the City Hall, it's feeding the Fox network. No, I know it wasn't live on the body cam. Yes, they said it was a few days beforehand or the day before or whatever. Point I was making was it was still shot incredibly well from all sources when it could have been maybe the same thing done, but just shot a little differently. It was my bone of contention with it. And people are like, oh, they didn't listen. They said it was a day before or whatever. But they are reacting now to this. And again, as I appreciate they're making the effort and I see what they're trying to do, and I hate to pick it apart, but you could see this coming a mile down the road. AJ Styles gets in the ring, do a promo. He's pissed that LA Knight again came to his house, his castle, and attacked him. And the reason why he didn't have him put in jail is so he can expose him as the under-talented piece of trash that he is. And he had asked Aldis to make sure that LA Knight was not here tonight, but he knows that he is. So he basically, AJ dares him to come out. Come on out, LA Knight, wherever I know you're here. Come out and show yourself, which doesn't happen. And then AJ said, well, I bet it could be that this cameraman. And there's the handheld guy in the corner on the apron of the ring, and you see his shot. You see AJ reach out and smack the guy's hat off and snatch him, and the camera goes sideways. And then you see another shot. You realize it's not LA Knight. It's some fucking putz cameraman. But then as the guy steps out of the ring, suddenly a guy in a hoodie and a face mask or whatever jumps the rail, and there's a couple of security guys coming right over behind him, and they grab him and restrain him. And that's when AJ comes over and pulls the hood off, and it's some nobody that you've never seen before. But the guy was overreacting like he was freaking out on fucking LSD. Like there was no way that a human being would have what. His face, his eyes are bugging out. His darting back and forth. His fucking movements are peripatetic, and they're struggling trying to. He's not really trying to get away, and he's not trying to say anything. He's just having a fucking spasm. And
what would have happened if he had gotten to AJ? What was he planning on doing this mystery guy?
It was this a plot of LA Knights or whatever? But if so, why was this guy acting like that? Why wasn't he saying something like, please don't hit me, I'm not LA Knight, or anything like that? Or ha ha ha, I got you. Or what? No, he acted like he's shocked to be found out that was caught, and no, you caught me. I didn't get away with whatever the fuck I'm trying to do.
He was acting like the cops had him cornered in an alley.
Yes, he had nowhere to go. He's going to mow him down with the goddamn Tommy guns. But I mean, I don't know what the fuck was going on. It's like they were shooting him with a cattle prod. So then they drag him out, and now AJ's on the floor, so he turns and keeps promoing into the handheld camera on the floor, while the handheld camera has framed AJ and a random crew guy who just happens to be leaning on the announce desk. And at that point, AJ's cutting the promo, and the crew guy takes his hat off, and he takes a wig off, and he takes whatever, and then AJ turns and sees that shot on the video screen and turns around, and LA Knight gets on him and he gives him the stomps and chases him out of the arena, and then gets on a desk and cuts a promo, and the people are still with LA Knight when he does something. And when he has a little spotlight like this, AJ is the vessel now that we get our fix of LA Knight in. But could this have been a little more stagey, do you think? Okay, him being there, he's in disguise, right? I know he's in disguise, so I'm going to just randomly snatch the cameraman. Okay, maybe, but then what the fuck was this guy? And he stays there, and he knows now that people are out to get him, but he's just standing there while this random crew guy is 5 feet to his left, and he doesn't, after he's been frisking everybody else and asking for their social security cards. It seemed I'm glad LA Knight cut a promo. That was the highlight of that. And beating AJ up was the highlight of this thing.
I got a kick out of this part of it for the campiness. Again, the guy who jumped the rail was the most ridiculous thing. There's no explanation for any of his behavior or what was going on there. And then LA Knight. It was basic and cheesy, but the crowd reacted to everything as simple as it was. Him taking off the hat. He looked ridiculous in that wig. Him taking off the wig. The place was ready for it. The place has been ready for him. He's been kind of standing in place for a little while just because of everything else happening. But it's nice to see the fans are still really with him. And this was a good segment. And AJ is jacked. You see the shape he's in?
Yes. He's definitely been eating the good old-fashioned Southern cooking down there in Georgia. But AJ is so good physically, and it's just with what we're hearing these days, with all of these world-class promos with Rock and Roman and Heyman and Cody and fucking Punk and et cetera, that's always been AJ's, not drawback, but it's been the weakest part of his ensemble. But anyway, it finished strong. I wish I could say the same thing for SmackDown. And of course, then the thing with Dakota and Bianca and Oscar and Kerry and Naomi and Jane was last.
Jade.
Yeah, it was all last.
And that was
SmackDown.
And I'm last, literally.